Hello, Facebook land. I'm so glad you're here with us for this announcement, this exciting announcement of the collaboration between Whitson Law Firm and Maria Natapov and her co-parenting and step-parenting coaching consulting business, which includes an amazing structured co-parenting program called BeH2O. And so we're here to kick off our collaboration. And I know that a number of people, I think more than 40 people, have registered and sent in advanced questions. So we'll start by introducing ourselves and talk a little about this collaboration, and then we're going to dive into your questions. So since I'm talking and I'm hosting, I guess, I'll introduce myself. Obviously, I'm Debra Whitson. I am the founder of Whitson Law Firm and also the founder of Mediated Online Solutions, which provides virtual and sometimes in-person mediation services for family law related issues. And Whitson Law Firm is a boutique law firm focused exclusively on family law issues. So, of course, we do divorce and custody, which falls right in line with the co-parenting issues we'll be exploring today and discussing how it makes so much sense for law firms and co-parenting coaches and leaders of programs like BH2O join hands together to help parents navigate the co-parenting journey or the step-parenting journey or both, as the case may be, around their legal issues surrounding custody and or divorce. So that's who I am. I've been practicing law for 31 years. I'm also a trained mediator. I'm trained in co-parent mediation. I'm trained in high conflict mediation. I'm also a collaborative divorce attorney with the proper training to be a collaborative divorce attorney in New York State. So that's me, and I'll let Maria introduce herself.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here and for, of course, this joint venture, Deb. Thank you for having me. My name is Maria Natapov. I am the owner, the founder and owner of Synergistic Stepparenting. It is a mostly coaching business. I have a trauma-informed parent coaching certification from a new families association, and then I also have a rapid resolution therapy coaching certification. I also have, of course, the BH2O co-parenting certification and a core coaching certification from Coach Training Alliance, that is ICF accredited organization. And what brought me to this work is I have personal experience on all sides of the divorce, step parenting, blended family adoption journey through my personal life. And it took me a long time, even though I was a child of divorce, to know what to do as a caregiver, both as a step parent and then as a parent, and in the kind of blended family and or family where the parents have been separated or divorced, and kind of all of the different configurations of that. And so I've really, as a kid who was deeply um, impacted by some of those circumstances, I've really devoted my life to educating myself and tuning into and tapping into the skill set and really building the skill set of what it looks like to support oneself through those really challenging moments, but also how to show up as your best self for the people that you care about, that you are looking to build a family with, whether they're people that you're still connected to because you're co-parenting together post a separation or divorce, but you're not going to get divorced from being parents to that little child or children. Whether you are coming in as a new caregiver, with somebody who's looking to build their life after a separation or divorce, or whether you are really joining your families and fusing your families together, maybe even getting married, and kind of that comes with its own set of challenges and issues. So wherever you are in the journey, I've really been devoted to finding better and better ways and tools and skills to support those folks so that they don't have to take as long as I did to learn some of these things, and more importantly, have much better support so they actually can build something really beautiful. And I am here to tell you, I'm not special, but I have an incredible life that it would never have happened had I not gone through some of those challenging moments. So I actually truly believe that a separation or divorce is actually a wonderful opportunity for us. It is happening for us, not to us. And as much as it can feel like we will never be whole again, because it feels like everything is cracking open and falling to pieces around us, it actually is a wonderful invitation to gain some supports that maybe we didn't even know existed, and gain access to tools, and really find new ways to build a wonderful foundation where everybody feels respected and considered. So that's why I do what I do.
Wonderful story. So we're going to dive into the questions that have been submitted because we want to make sure that if you submitted your question and you are listening live or watching the replay, if you're not available during the live broadcast of this, that your question got answered. And if we do miss something or we run out of time or something, we will make sure we reach out and get your answers to you. But we're going to dive right in, and I'm going to start with the question that makes most sense for diving right in. And one of you, thank you, has asked what inspired this collaboration between Whitson Law and BeH2O co-parenting program. So I'll start, and then I know Maria will tell her side of this story about how we came together and decided to collaborate. But um, I've been an attorney for 31 years, and I opened my law firm in 2009. I was part of another law firm exclusively working in the area of family and matrimonial law since 2007, and then I went out on my own in 2009. So I've got a lot of years under my belt um, of purely family and matrimonial law, and lots of people with children and stepchildren entering my professional life, and allowing me the honor of serving them as our law firm clients. And I can tell you that um, my backstory is maybe not as powerful as Maria's in terms of how it's inspired her to do what she's doing and be who she is today. But I have my own divorce story, short-term marriage, no kids and no assets and a few debts because we were just out of college. So it was relatively uncomplicated, even though there was infidelity in the background, which was exceedingly painful. So it was emotionally a very hard time for me. But I've been happily partnered for 35 years following that experience, but I fell in love with and eventually married a man who had two children of his own. And like Maria, did no experience with being a parent myself at that time, and certainly no experience with co-parenting because I was fortunate to grow up in an entirely intact family. So I didn't have a personal separation or divorce experience as a child. So I had no clue what I was doing. And to my stepchildren who are adults out there, if you are bored enough to watch your stepmom on this live later, I'm so sorry that I didn't know the first thing about parenting or co-parenting, but they are wonderful adults and their parents were very committed. They went through a mediated divorce, and um, very committed to putting the kids first and making sure that they try to insulate the children from any of the any conflicts, and get it right as co-parents. But they didn't have a roadmap either. I mean, I don't think anyone was putting out roadmaps back then. So in my professional life now, um, we we spend a lot of time with clients on these co-parenting challenges, and they often bubble to the surface as frustrations. And so they are reaching out to their dedicated client concierge in our firm. They're reaching out to the assigned paralegal or law clerk working on their matter, or the attorney on their matter to, field questions, get advice, get guidance and support on things that we're not really trained on. Yes, I have some co-parenting, mediation training, but we don't have the training and the skills to do that. And then they're with the legal staff, they're getting charged our hourly rate for what really is advice we're qualified to give, and it is tapping into an expensive resource. So I just really have been grappling for a long time on how to support people. I feel like I'm a really good tactician. I'm a really good lawyer. I know the laws of New York exceedingly well, and I'm very proud to be able to provide quality legal services. But I just felt like this was an area we were falling short, not for lack of wanting to support or lack of care about what our clients were expressing, their frustrations or sadness or fears, or successes even sometimes. We really do deeply care. But we know that this is maybe not as intuitive as being a parent. I mean, your baby doesn't come home from the hospital with a how-to book when you bring your baby home for the first time. And there certainly is no great how-to or, built-in DNA kind of how to raise children across two households or how to be a step parent that is not evolutionarily, biologically connected to you. So we've been grappling with how to support our clients and wrap services around them in every way possible because we know the separation and divorce and co-parenting journey is an emotional one and it's hard and it can be exhausting, also exhilarating at times. And I don't even remember what first drew me to Maria. I don't know if it was something she's putting out in social media and it just resonated with me. And I just said, I have to meet this woman. She seems like a kindred spirit. And yeah, so long story short, the minute we met each other, we were like, how can we work together? How can we help people and combine what we do and combine our expertise and our desire to be innovative supporters for the people that we're working with? And so it's been a lot of dialogue and a lot of back and forth about how this would take shape and how it would come together. But here we are, officially announcing our partnership, and we'll be answering more questions and telling you more about that today. But that was the inspiration that led to this collaboration that I know is going to change a lot of lives and a lot of children's experiences for the best. And I'm excited about that. Uh,
Yeah. Just to briefly add, I totally agree with your comment about when we met, it was like kindred spirits. And it was so refreshing because you so deeply care. And I think I've shared with you that I feel like you're a lawyer, but you have a coach's heart, in that you just really see through kind of beyond the legal challenges to what the people that you serve are struggling with and what their needs are, and that you genuinely intentionally want to guide them to the best outcomes, even if they are not necessarily always able to see how that would serve them in the future, or in the long term. And so I just am so exhilarated about this partnership because mutually, right, it's also wonderful to have an amazing team to recommend to clients who are looking and have legal questions and are looking for support with co-parenting plans. And I just think when I'm able to direct them to your team with the care, with that understanding, with that compassion at the heart, that they're going to get their needs met in a more holistic way, which is just much more in alignment with kind of our shared values and what the BeH2O framework also teaches and holds true. So yeah, it just felt like it was a natural fit, like the perfect glove made for, for the hand.
It's true. It's true. So we're really excited that those of you who are tuning in or watching the replay are exploring this topic and considering either what it can do for you or for someone you care about and love, or maybe if you're an allied professional serving the similar population, maybe this will inspire you as well to look for partners out in the universe who can, provide complementary services to whatever you are currently providing. But let's keep going through the questions, and you can maybe pick one from the list and start, and then we can go down the list of questions and get all these things answered as much as possible.
Sure. I really like the question of what makes Whitson Law different from other family law firms when it comes to co-parenting support. I think I very briefly touched on it, but I just think, sometimes law firms that I find have a perspective of like, yeah, we do it all. We also support co-parents. I'm actually really good at coaching now because of all these family law cases that I have. And I remember when you spoke about it distinctly, you were so clear that even though you can see that need, and in some ways you could even provide them that support, that there's also value sometimes in um, not wearing too many hats all at once, because even though you might be able to honor that boundary and keep it straight, it's very difficult for the clients to see you as more than one support for them. And and also just the value of kind of having clear lines of this is how I'm supporting you, and then here are other professionals who can support you with these additional needs and aspects of this whole process. And so I just think that that takes so much courage and foresight, and um, it just, it's leading with intention, it's leading with clarity, and I think that's one of the things that we instantly aligned on, which is what makes me so exhilarated to partner with you. But I know that there's so much more, and I would love to have you share. um,
It's hard to follow on that, but I guess I will share that when I first hung out my shingle and started my law firm, um, for those watching, you may not realize that the first office of Whitson Law is still in it right now, based in Elizabethtown, New York, population of like 1,200 people or something, in a county that has a population of approximately 35,000 people. So um, we were small. We are small. This area is small. Whitson Law is now big. We have offices in Albany and Saratoga and Plattsburgh. And we cover, from the Hudson Valley up to the Canadian border along the northeastern strata of New York State. So, but at that time, when I first hung up my shingle and I was just starting out, I thought I should be small town lawyer. I thought I should try to do everything for anyone who walked in the door. So I did some wills and I did some probate and I came out of prosecution. So I tried not to do criminal defense, but I did a few DWI defenses, you name it. And I was taking evictions and things like that. And my heart wasn't in those other things. My heart was in the family law. And I found that not only was I terrible at doing a lot of things at a very high level, that I was missing as a prosecutor, I did one thing. I was a one-trick pony, prosecution, criminal cases, prosecution, criminal cases. I got very expert at it, and that's my comfort zone, being an expert. So when I couldn't be expert at anything, I wasn't happy. I wasn't doing great work for my clients, and at a depth level. And so I ditched everything but family law and I really dove in. And when I did that, I realized for the first time that as I'm really thinking about the client journey, and having been through a divorce myself, it impacts so many areas of your life. It's not just the legal problem, right? Our clients are not legal problems, they're humans who are going through a phase of life that presents legal needs or challenges. So it might affect their housing decisions and choices. It might affect, well, usually does affect their finances. Um, and it affects their children, it affects their friendships, affects their extended family relationships, it might affect their work performance, it might even affect their physical and emotional health. And so seeing that and realizing I can see those needs and I want to do something to steer those clients toward help, but I can't provide all of those services. And so over the years, we've made strategic alliances at Whitson Law with the people we know our clients are going to need. So if they're trying to sell the house and they have a roofing problem they need to fix, we got roofers we can trust that we will connect them to. I mean, it's literally down to that level of granularity. So they don't have to go shopping for somebody and may not know whether they're trustworthy or their work is quality. They may not know where to begin to find a child specialist for a special needs child, but we have been through this road with others in a similar situation. So that's what makes us a boutique law firm. And along the way, I discovered a program called the Certified Divorce Specialist program offered by the National Association of Divorce Professionals. And everybody in my law firm, whether they're a lawyer or a legal professional or not, if they're answering the phones and they're talking to clients or prospective clients, they are put through the training to be a certified divorce specialist. And that's all about understanding the multi-level needs of people going through a divorce and knowing how to communicate effectively with people who are going through a stressful life event like a divorce. So, yeah, we just really try to recognize that our clients are people and they're not a legal case, they're people.
That's so beautiful and huge because as part of BH2O, we talk about the inward mindset and the outward mindset. And that's actually what we help our parents who go through the program shift in the course of the program, is really to see each other as humans with our own needs and challenges and goals. And that when we start to get curious about what those are for each other, we're much more able to um, come up with better resolutions and in more collaborative ways. So I just really love that. And it's so beautifully aligned. And also it's such a beautiful gift that you can give another, is to recognize they're not broken. They're just going through a difficult event or circumstance.
Exactly. So I know you enough to know that you didn't start out of the gate as a BH2O coach. So you were doing the other trauma-informed coaching and step parenting coaching and other various modalities of coaching. So I would love to know, and I'm not sure if it was asked directly, but what drew you to BH2O and how is it different than some of the other coaching training and that you
Yeah.
received and or the coaching that you offer?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. What drew me to it is it's so aligned in values. It's so grounded in values. And it's beautiful in that as a facilitator, um, what really makes this program unique is it's beautifully infectious in, dare I say, in how we live out our purpose. So I'm not just facilitating a program and teaching things and just talking at people. I'm actually living out the values of the program, which is exactly what the program then teaches co-parents how to do, which is get in touch with their values. And when we are working with co-parents, we talk about grounding them in their shared values that they want to instill in their kids. And then that becomes the North Star from which they make all decisions. And that's how they understand whether they are actually upholding their goals or unintentionally, which is unfortunately often the case, undermining them. And then we talk about, how to, what that means, what that looks like, and kind of dig in, and of course offer them support and skills along the way. But I also really love that the curriculum makes it really meets parents where they're at, and it makes the subject matter very accessible. So of course, it's useful to have an open mind, but it's the way that these particular concepts are taught. They're through video a lot of times. And for example, we might look at a vignette and we'll identify what each parent and the child are experiencing and why they might be responding the way that they are, or saying some of the things they're saying, or doing some of the things they're doing, and we'll identify their needs and challenges and kind of explore, what else could they have done potentially that might have led to a better outcome. We explore what big emotions feel like from a child's perspective. There's this really beautiful video that I think just really wonderfully grounds us in that experience. And we start to understand that if our kids have the language for this, if they have a way of describing this, then we too can access it and we too can model this for them. And it just makes it really accessible. Another thing that we do is, for example, we actually consider quite heavily the experience of the child, specifically how the child experiences the co-parenting relationship. So not their relationship with mom and or dad or, other parents that may be involved, but specifically their co-parenting dynamic in and of itself. And we have a really creative way to do that, which is through drawing a picture, which allows us to ground into that emotional weight of that experience. And then from there, the parents identify what the children might be feeling and what their needs might be and how they can best support them with all of that. So I really just love the accessibility and the multidimensionality of how the subject matter is explored. And it truly is kind of a spiral where we talk about how we're not going to solve anything in the beginning of the program. don't don't expect major shifts. In fact, you might be quite frustrated, and I just want to be transparent in saying that for the first few weeks, because what we're doing in that critical time is building a foundation. And what we're building a foundation for is for each of the parents individually to be able to effectively interact with each other eventually. Because my job, as I look at it, is to work myself out of a job. So what happens is these skills that we are starting to explore together and learn and integrate, they build on itself kind of throughout the program because we keep reiterating them, we keep looking at them and referencing them. And as we go through, we keep building on them. So what we're left with is a pretty rich toolbox. And it really, another beautiful thing is it's highly customized. Each program is unique. The structure and format are the same, but what comes out what the co-parents create together for their goals, for their co-parenting commitment is what we call it. 3 to 5 goals that they identify that they can commit to for their children. Um, it's really beautiful and it's completely unique and dependent on where they're at, what matters most to them, their specific circumstances, and what's available. And everything is like that. Their boundaries, their communication plan, everything that we discuss and come and create together in this program is highly individualized and highly responsive to their unique needs, but also they build something they can grow with so that it keeps supporting them well beyond our work together. And that's really what drew me is the autonomy.
Yeah, and when I heard about that it's driven by the unique values that's defined by the parents themselves, it was really a mind shift for me because, of course, working in the family and Supreme Court system in New York State for so many years around family law related issues, there are court-ordered parent education programs, and in my mind, I've reviewed curriculum. I haven't taken any of the courses start to finish because, frankly, I couldn't sit through some of them because they're the thou shall or thou shalt not.
Mhm.
And so someone is dictating, right, how you should or should not act. And I guess in our society, there are some black and white
Yes.
demarcations. But I think, when I heard about BH2O being true or defined and customized to the values of the specific parent or parents that are going through the program or the class, um, it reminded me one time of some parents I was working with, and they both voiced, I don't remember the context, but they both voiced that it was really important to them that their children be obedient. And at that time, I had become a parent. I was a parent. I still am a parent. And while I don't wish to have disobedient children, obedience would not have been one of my personal values. But for them, that was really important. And so, right, like we're all different. We do have different values about what we want reflected of us and our children and how we want our children to be and show up in the world. And effective coaching should validate and honor and respect that, right? So
Yeah,
their
absolutely.
values aren't my values, but they are entitled to their values and
Yeah.
how they're going to raise their children. And that's the wonderful thing about the United States of America is you have the absolute right to raise your children as you see fit, as long as you're not abusive, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that I think that is really unique from my experience and the limited number of curriculum that I have had a chance to be exposed to.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for underscoring that. And I guess to more succinctly summarize the answer to the question you had asked, which is how is this different than other co-parenting curriculums? Most of them deal with the surface, which is what you kind of alluded to, the behavior, do this, don't do that, say this, don't say that. But it doesn't actually get to the heart often of the conflict, unfortunately. And so where BH2O does is that we address who the parents are in the dynamic of the relationship and how they can be their best selves, even in those times where things are not going their way and their co-parent is doing things that they're not thrilled about. But how did they show up in alignment with those values nonetheless?
So somebody asked the question about what is BH2O coaching, and we, I think, thoroughly covered that as far as the purpose of this format. We don't have days.
Absolutely,
But
absolutely.
they also asked in the same question, who is it designed for? Is there anybody that it would not be appropriate or indicated for?
So I think I've shared with you, Deb, but so sometimes people raise the question, well, what about domestic abuse cases? Would that be appropriate? And I would say that yes, it would, because again, we're not looking for the circumstances to change, but we're looking to create a system where there is mutual respect and where communication can be exchanged safely and decisions are able to be made collaboratively. So, for example, sometimes success can look like both parents are able to go to an event together, a public event for their child, maybe a school function, maybe a concert, maybe an extracurricular activity, and cheer them on together. Sometimes, and we address this a lot in the BH2O framework, the cost of conflict might be determined to be too high. If the parents, as soon as they see each other or just know that each other's in the same space, maybe they get really tense. Maybe their face turns white because they're terrified. Maybe they start to tremble. None of that would be really serving the purpose, which is to ensure that children have emotional safety. So, in those situations, it likely will be determined that the cost of conflict, in fact, is too high for them to be at the same place at the same time. However, we can get really clever and creative with perhaps some other solutions. For example, maybe they alternate which parent goes to which function, but perhaps there's an opportunity to FaceTime with a parent who's not present before the event and perhaps even after the event to share how things went so that they get to be a part of it and they get to have that contact with the child. That's just one example. I'm completely making things up. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just simply saying that the key that BH2O addresses is that when parents come together in agreeing on, okay, this is the boundary we're going to stick to. So, for example, in the case of perhaps domestic abuse or previous domestic abuse, maybe one of the parents is not comfortable with the other one coming into the house. Maybe they want to make sure that any and all exchanges or interactions happen outside of the house on the doorstep or maybe even further away from the house. As long as both parents are able to adopt that, and then that becomes clear and cohesive for the kids so that little Johnny is not making up a story about, well, dad was really nice to mom and let her go inside, but mom wasn't nice to dad because she didn't want him in her house, because now they're left to their own imagination to come up with some way to understand that and what's going on there. And likely none of that is going to be true and none of it is going to serve them. So that's really the key with what BH2O allows the opportunity to do is to be clear, to be effective, and to have a workable system for communication in a way that feels safe for both parents. And most importantly, it also creates emotional safety and clarity for the children. So those co-parenting commitments, for example, are shared with the children. And as long as they know, oh, mom and dad agree that they're never going to be at the same place at the same time, not because they don't respect each other or they don't care about me, but actually because they do respect each other and because they do care about me. This is what they've determined would be the best and the safest thing for everybody. And so they're very clear on that. And as long as they know their parents are okay with it, then they become okay with it too. And to answer your question around who else it's designed for, it's really for anybody in any stage of divorce. And I'll be very transparent in sharing. My husband and I have a wonderful relationship. We have amazing communication. We've put a lot of effort and years and all kinds of resources towards ensuring that. However, because I adopted my formerly stepdaughter, who's now my daughter, and she is healing through trauma from past life events, we weren't sure if we felt like maybe we have a little bit of a blind spot around some way that we could be supporting her that we're just not aware of because we're really close to it. So we actually ourselves enlisted in getting some coaching from Trina, the creator of this program, to ensure that we can bring those things that we're not seeing to light so that we can be even more effective at supporting her. So it really is genuinely for everybody. Most of the people who, not most, but a lot of the people who've gone through the program have been either separated or divorced. A lot of them have been very high conflict where they, in some cases, were completely alienated, wouldn't talk to each other. In some cases, the parents were even alienated from the children. And this program has offered them a new way to interact and definitely much better relationships with those kids. And statistically, you can look at the statistics on our shared page. But yeah, the outcomes definitely tell the story of how significantly it has reduced the conflict and the severity of it for the families who've been through the program. So really at any stage, this would be a really valuable and effective tool.
Yeah, some of the success stories are really mind-blowing. So I encourage people to go check those things out. There's some really great video testimonials from parents who describe what the experience was like and how it has changed and transformed their co-parenting relationship and their relationship with their child or children. So that's really impressive. So I'm going to ask kind of combine two questions into one. So somebody asked, well, how do I ever trust my co-parent again? And then I'm going to add to that because I hear this a lot. Well, I would engage in co-parent coaching, but the other parent is never ever going to change. I know him or her so well, they are never going to change, and I have no hope that things will change. So why bother? So
Mhm.
how do you address that with respect to this particular program?
So it's not about trusting your co-parent because you're not looking to get back into a relationship with them, but it is about trusting that your co-parent loves your child and wants the best for them, just like you do. And that really becomes the foundation, right? That's why we're focused on the children, because it becomes an opportunity and a way to access that workability. And that's really what it's about, is ensuring that we're able to provide, because the kids, they never asked for the divorce. They were not a part of the decision often, and they're just kind of left to pick up the pieces. And they deserve to have access to both parents. They deserve to have as much of their emotional freedom protected to just enjoy their childhood and be kids and not have to deal with the heaviness of adult situations and adult problems. Um, and so, sorry, what was the second part of that question, Deb? Could you repeat it, please?
I know the other parent will never change.
Yes, and that's actually exactly what we deal with because we often say there's no magic fairy dust or magic wand. We're not going to change your co-parent. So let's just be clear in case there's any disillusion about that. And that's really not what we're looking to do, right? We're not looking to change your co-parent. We're looking to shore up your own resources and help you address things like, for example, when you're triggered, say by your co-parent, and we know if that's happened in the past, it's going to happen again, right? We're not delusional about that. But what it's about is understanding that usually when you're triggered, there's a need that's being threatened or ignored. So when we are able to identify that need, not only are the emotions instantly coming down because now we're clear about what's at the heart of us being triggered, but also, once we have that insight as to what that need is, we're able to meet it ourselves. So we're no longer feeling like this football being kicked around, constantly at the mercy of the system or the co-parent or attorneys or whatever other personnel there may be that are part of the case. And now we're feeling empowered, right? Because we're able to actually navigate confidently a difficult situation and a difficult moment. And as we also know how to tend to our own, central nervous system and regulate it and calm it, so that we are able to get into our higher functioning brain, we can get really creative with some of the solutions that we come up with and how we collaborate together. And that's really what this program is about, helping us to build the skill set around that and also the capacity to deal with the challenges in a way that don't completely wipe us out.
It's powerful stuff, really, honestly. So let's take, maybe you can pick a question off the list because I sort of been tossing them at you.
Let's see. Let's see. I know that there's some here. What does a typical journey look like for a client who works with both your law firm and BH2O?
Well, we're just kicking off this collaboration, so I guess that really remains to be seen. But we've talked through it a lot, and we have, some professional guidelines, and that we will be following the two organizations as we work together. So I'm not sure what typical ultimately will play out to be, but here's what we envision. Um, at least for those clients who are coming through Whitson Law Firm, and we're talking with them about BH2O and the other offerings that Maria has available to them that might, if they have different sorts of needs or desires. But we will be underwriting or sponsoring an introduction to the BH2O program, either through a drop-in class, which is your way to sort of put your toe in the water and see if you like the temperature, try it out and see. So that's a low commitment kind of thing, and so that's a $50 underwriting sponsorship. You can jump into a class at no charge, and the law firm will incur that expense. And then the other option is for the law firm to contribute a scholarship, so to speak, of $200 toward the enrollment fee or the participation fee for the BH2O program itself, the whole structured program. And and we'll be sharing information. We have a combined landing page. There's information on Whitson Law Firm's website about BH2O and this collaboration, and similarly, information on Maria's website about this. We'll be, doing more joint events like this so that the public is aware of this collaboration and how it's unfolding in actual practice. So tune in later and we can update you on what is a more typical journey. But we're hopeful that from the law firm side of things, that every one of our parent clients will avail themselves of the services Maria has to offer. Even if, like Maria said, she has a very solid, loving marriage with a lot of good communication, but they wanted extra support as their daughter was experiencing or bringing up past life trauma or trauma earlier in her life and trying to deal with that and support her in that. So even if you're knocking the co-parenting thing out of the park, there's always things you can do better. Or just when you think you're knocking it out of the park, something changes in the stasis of your co-parenting relationship. Your child enters a new developmental phase, or they're hitting a struggle in their life, or one of you is hitting a struggle, or somebody's dealing with a major illness, or something derails everything that was working so well that you felt like you were hitting it out of the park. So I think there's always room for people to tap into resources for a lot of different reasons in their life. And so our clients, when we make that referral, we are keeping their attorney-client privilege solid. We are not sharing anything about what they've divulged to us in the course of their relationship with our law firm, or for that matter, anything about the status of their legal case other than what is publicly known. Like there's currently a custody case and trial is 3 months away. And now I'm introducing you to this client. So similarly, if they engage the services for on Maria's end of things, their work with Maria is confidential and they can choose to share information with us directly, the client that we have in common. But Maria and Whitson Law will not be sharing information on an ongoing basis about either the legal matter or the course of how the coaching is going with the client we share in common. So we'll respect our professional confidences and privacy for the client. And anytime the client feels it's helpful for these two entities to communicate, they will do proper releases for both. So that communication can happen, but only if the client wishes it.
Mhm.
And that's sort of the structure of how we've worked this out. Maybe if you want to add anything or correct anything I've said, Maria.
I think that's perfect, Deb. And I think just one quick thing to add to that with regard to the journey, I think we talked about how it could be a parallel journey. We don't really see that they're mutually exclusive forward with your work or with my work at whatever point they kind of choose or feel that it's appropriate and useful for them.
Right, so it could happen before they're even contemplating bringing a legal action, but they're consulting with us and we say, oh, hey, you might want to think about co-parent coaching if you're going to plan a separation or a divorce or a custody fight later or custody petition later. If there is an ongoing legal matter and it's desirable to ask the court to stall that, or the parties intentionally pull it out of court for the time being and see where coaching takes them, that's a possibility as well. But there's nothing to say that the legal matter couldn't carry on in an ordinary course of how those go while the coaching is going on in parallel, and maybe even on um, not coterminous tracks, if you know what I mean. They don't have to start and end at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think that it can be very specific to the needs of the particular client who wishes to work simultaneously with both Whitson Law and Maria and her services.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, why does if you don't mind, Deb, I'm going to ask another one. Why does your law firm believe emotional support is just as important as legal guidance?
Wow, because what I've learned is that even if you wanted the breakup or the separation or divorce, even if you know at your heart of hearts it's the best for everybody, it's still a loss. And so it really is kind of the rare situation where both people say, we just know in our heart of hearts and we respect each other, but we just know we don't belong together as a couple or romantic co-entity. Even then, it's a loss because none of us entered into a relationship saying this is probably not going to work out, or let's be honest. And especially if you went the step of marriage or long-term cohabitation, you're thinking, I'm in this to win it, right? I'm in it for the long haul. And so, whatever your vision was, for me, honestly, my first marriage was as silly because of my sort of very middle class upbringing was, a house with a white picket fence and a golden retriever and 2.3 children, and it was going to be beautiful and perfect and whatever until it wasn't. And I was really grieving that loss, even though I knew that this marriage wasn't healthy and it needed to end. Um, so that's in the best of all scenarios, right? Where you've come to acceptance and you realize this is for the best. It's still hard and it's still emotional. But at the other end of the spectrum, we have very high conflict cases where it's a literal, knockdown, drag out battle, and it's day in and day out in some situations, and it may be in the legal system, it may be outside the legal system, it may be in the community, it may be barraging hate on social media and disparagement on social media. It takes all sorts of forms, and it can really wear the people or person who's the target of that down, and it makes it hard for them to be present as part of the team of their legal matter, right? We tell our clients the most important member of your legal team is you. We are here for you. It is your goals that define where we go and what we do. And you rubber stamp the actions we take on your behalf and things like that. We don't take you down a path that you haven't said, yes, I want you to take me down that path. So they are a key part of their legal team. And if they can't show up, and be present and help us advocate for them, even when we know at times they don't have the strength to advocate for themselves. They need to be in it enough so that we can ascertain their goals and get their consent to taking certain courses of action. And then there'll be a new day at the end of this, and it's just as important at that new day and thereafter to have ongoing supports because it can be very disorienting. All of a sudden, now you're single and maybe you're a single co-parent. And where do I go from here? So, um, we want our clients to, be intentional about every stage of this and be intentional about what they want their new post divorce or separation life to be, and not just wallow into some new dysfunctional relationship. Be thoughtful about what do I want now and reflective about why that didn't serve me and why it's a good thing that I'm beyond that now. But where do I want to go? And so, because we don't want to see them back for their second or third or fourth round. We like them. We like to hear how they're doing. We like to touch base with them and find out how their new life is going. But it doesn't bring us any joy to see them come back again and again with more legal battles.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And
awesome.
it's tough on the kids. If that continues, if that sort of chaos and conflict continues, it's very, very hard. And I think that's the most heartbreaking thing is, as you said, the children didn't sign up for the divorce. They didn't get asked about whether their parents stay together. They're either going to come um, out of it well adjusted or there will be collateral damage. And if parents aren't really intentional about it, then they can unintentionally cause their children to be collaterally damaged.
Yeah. And just
So,
a moment to share about that piece. Oftentimes, kids are going to say, I'm fine. And it's going to look like they're okay because they put on a tough face
mhm.
and a brave face. And they don't want to add, they're very sensitive to their parents' the emotional toll all of this is taking on them. So they don't want to add to that. And oftentimes they're scared that, in a sense, their head is on the chopping block because it's like, well, I never thought my parents would be getting divorced and, they got rid of each other. Does that mean I'm next? So these are the real fears, real tangible fears that they're experiencing, even if they don't have the language to identify them. And those are all the reasons that they just really try their best to put on a brave face and keep it together and keep collected, but they're not, in fact, they often don't have the skills and tools to be able to do that. And in some way, that's going to rear its head
Mhm.
at some point. It's inevitable. And the final piece is just to your point, Deb, our actions, our kids are watching. They are literally building their framework for how to navigate conflict, challenges, self-advocacy, and romantic relationships by watching us, not by hearing us, by watching us. So if we want them to be set up well for resiliency and for how to have a healthy relationship, we need to model for them what it looks like to do so. And it starts with an effective way to advocate for ourselves and have a system where we can effectively communicate with each other.
Yeah, that's really really insightful to remind people that the kids, they're like sponges. They're soaking up more than we ever imagine, I believe, um, and that is good to be aware of.
Mhm.
So, I've previously asked you, but I think it's a nice follow-on to this is there a way for the children to have a voice directly in the parents' participation in the BH2O coaching program?
Yeah, there is a child inclusion session that happens around the midway through the program, and it's around the time that we are having the parents really drop into and understand the space that their children are navigating in between and their experience of the co-parenting dynamic. We can do a session that includes the children to actually have them also participate in similar activities where they're identifying, and helping us to understand what that looks like from their own kind of mouths and their own bodies, and identifying the feelings that they're feeling, and also identifying their needs. And so that is a really powerful way to give the children voice. But regardless of whether that session occurs or not, at the end of the program, there's a celebration that we have with the children. They're a part of it. We have snacks and we play games together. And the parents share their co-parenting commitment and their family narrative with the children. And it's really, really powerful because it creates transparency and cohesion. And for kiddos who've only seen their parents in conflict or arguing and fighting, they're now seeing them calm, composed, agreeing, and sharing something together calmly with them. And it's really beautiful to see and really beautiful for them to experience. And we then encourage each parent to put the co-parenting commitment somewhere on a fridge or somewhere very easily accessible. And the kids are invited to hold them accountable to actually carrying out these goals that they've agreed to and identified. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the day that some of our clients are going through that final ceremony or celebration at the end of their participation, and they're hearing directly how it has impacted them and their children.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
So someone has asked, can people enroll in BH2O through our firm? So yes and no. There's not going to be a direct enrollment. There's probably some screening and things like that on Maria's side of things, but we will make the what I call a warm or hot referral, right? We will make the connection for our clients to Maria. There will be a discount code so you can take advantage of the scholarship or contribution to participation that Whitson Law is willing to incur for our clients, to make it even more enticing to jump in and take advantage of this great program. And we do have the shared information on websites, and there'll be links from our website to where you need to go to enroll, which will take you over to Maria's website, etc. So we're trying to make this as seamless and easy for people, but because there are, our law firm has to review for conflict of interest and things like that. So there are screening things that Maria will need to do on her side. And so there has to be a little bit of a wall in that process, but we'll make that as seamless as we can for our clients who want to work with Maria and take advantage of the offerings we have.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, we have a few more minutes. I don't know if there's a key question that we may have missed. I don't know if you want to take a look, Maria. I think we covered a lot of them. If
Yeah.
not, maybe we can just do some closing thoughts and wrap this up so we don't keep people past the hour.
Yeah. Let's see. One thing that maybe jumps out at me is what tools or strategies do clients walk away with after completing the program? And I think I may have mentioned this before, but just to sort of concisely boil it down. So it really supports parents to shore up their own resources. So we're not going to get rid of conflict, right? It's inevitable, it's a part of life. But the degree of chaos that you have around the conflict is a choice. And that is where BH2O goes to work. So with the tools and skills that you gain through engaging in the program and going through the framework, you build capacity, you build resiliency, and you build the confidence because it's 16 weeks, which is a good amount of time. It is a commitment. And it's designed to do that intentionally because it takes 66 days to build a new habit. And that's what we're doing here. We're not I'm going to say don't do this because in order not to do that, we need to give you the tools and a way to access doing something different. And that doesn't happen overnight because think of how many years you've been around and you've been doing things the same way. So naturally, we're not going to shift that in the course of one conversation. But over the time of this program, as we, like I said, intentionally build the foundation and really help you almost like in a gym, right? You go and you get your reps in, and then you have the results that you eventually want to see. And it takes some time. And it's the same way we help you build the reps to be able to actually communicate effectively in spite of whatever you might be getting from your co-parent. We already said we're not going to change them. And in spite of whatever's going on with the circumstances around whatever challenge you're currently navigating, so that you are able to show up with clarity, you are able to show up with intention. You're able to honor the goals that you have for your child and those values you want to instill in them, and you are walking your talk. And it doesn't mean it's going to always be perfect, but if and when you falter and you fall down, you're going to have the tools and skills to get back up. You're going to know that you can do it. And you're going to trust yourself to do that.
Yeah, and I love that. I don't know, somewhere along the way in my learning to give metaphors or examples to clients, and sometimes it's helpful to have an illustration. So I will, over the years, I've often said to clients, well, you're no longer going to be a cohesive romantic partnership. Now you're going to be co-CEOs of your child's or children's life between two households. And
Yeah.
that's a big job. I mean, that's a really important job, and it requires a lot of thought and planning to execute well because, right, kids going back and forth with all the things they need and so on and so forth, and keeping schedules straight and activities and appointments and such between two households, and much, much more. But um, I love that when you were first describing the BH2O program to me, you said that we will actually help our participant parents understand that they are like CEOs of their children's life, and we will help them build a business plan for this business of raising this child between two households. And I was like, wow, I
Yeah.
guess my little metaphor had some sort of grounding in useful reality. But so, I mean, literally, the participants are walking out with deliverables that they have created. They wrote their own business plan, and it's not like this is how you should co-parent. We're telling you. They are writing their own business plan for how they're going to be the co-CEOs of raising their children in separate homes. And I love that they have something tangible that they developed that reflects their values and their intentions and their commitments.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think of how valuable it would have been if parents had access to something like that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. All right. Well, we're right at 4 o'clock. So tell our viewers how they can reach you. And, our assistants in the background are going to be putting some links in the feed, in the comments section, sorry, of the feed below this live. And it will be preserved and recorded. And so you can look back and find them. But just tell us, how do they reach you if they're ready to sign up or want to learn more?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a tab, a BH2O tab, as you said, on the Whitson Law website. So that's a great way to reach out to me. You can peruse that, and there's, I think my contact info is at the bottom of that. You can always email me at Maria at Synergistic Step Parenting, two P's and stepparenting.com. And yeah, you can also always DM me on here on Facebook or on LinkedIn. Those are the places I'm most active. So there's different ways to get a hold of me. But yeah, around, I'm happy to chat and happy to share more information if you have any questions.
Great. And I happen to know Maria's all on the major socials. You can find her on LinkedIn and Facebook and Insta and so on and so forth. So look for her there. And you can find us, Whitson Law Firm, at whitsonlawfirm.com. The mediation arm of my businesses, mediatedonlinesolutions.com. There's great resources there, not just about this collaboration, but all sorts of resources on everything family law and mediation and collaboration related, and lots of free stuff you can access, including my book, Divorce Like a Pro, A Better Way to Break Up, which you can download for free right from the website. If you don't care about having the functions of an e-reader, it's just a PDF, but you can also get it on Amazon if you want the e-reader version or old school hard copy or paperback of that book, but get it for free on the website. It's there, and that's what it's intended to be there for. And you can reach Whitson Law by emailing info@whitsonlawfirm.com or the mediation company info@mediatedonlinesolutions.com. And Carlene will post all sorts of links, and she'll be sending out sort of free digital goodies and such like that with more resources and information about this collaboration and other things to those of you who registered and gave us an email address. So we promise not to spam you, and you can always say, stop sending us stuff if you feel like we're sending too much your way. But we want to add value in every way we can, and that includes sending you some free resources that might be useful to you or useful to share with others going through their own co-parenting or family law related issues. So thank you all for attending. Maria, thank you for being a collaborator with Whitson Law Firm and being ready to serve our clients. And I look forward to where this takes us and to be able to come back in future lives and with respect for client anonymity, just talk about some success stories coming out of this collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for being a visionary and embracing the opportunity to collaborate and really just being so open to supporting families in this very beautiful, holistic way, which is so refreshing.
Likewise, likewise. Thanks again. All right, to our audience, be
Thank you
well,
so much.
and we'll see you sometime on Facebook Live again soon. Bye, all.
Bye, everybody.